Hi, Rachel, you there?
Hi, Chris.
How's
Hi.
things?
Oh, hi. Sorry, I'd put myself on mute and invisible, and I was doing other things because I was starting to
No
wonder.
worries. How's
Which,
things?
things are good, thank you. I'm a little bit sleepy, but I'm always excited to get on one of these calls and
Awesome.
connect. And I think Nancy should be joining us. I'll just send her a
Cool.
reminder. We messaged each other this morning, and I thought it might be good to have her on the call so that she could just,
Get an update on the reunion?
yeah. Like she's been so valiant or valiant. Do you say valiant or valiant? Like just kind of keeping
Valiant, I think.
valiant. Just holding the space and so there's always a weekly meeting on the Mondays, and sometimes even during the summer they were doing on Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
And the difficulty, I think, is also because there's always new waves of people coming in. So it's very hard to find the right balance between involving lots of people, but not like if there are too many, then you get bogged down, right? Because there are too many
Mm-hmm.
people. And if they're not enough, then it's not democratic. So it's really hard to find the right balance.
Absolutely. I know with lean startup teams generally, especially for Hackett for Defense, we go with a minimum of 4 and a maximum of 6. And that way you've got probably about the optimal number of people. Any more than that, people sort of get lost in the sauce.
Lost in the sauce. Oh, right. So minimum 4, maximum 6. That's a good formula. That actually helps me to frame it a little bit more.
Yeah, it was at Amazon. They called it two pizza meetings. That if people are hungry, if you bring 2 pizzas into a team meeting and they're still hungry, that means your team's too big. If they're overly full, then the team's too small. Not very scientific, but a rough guide.
Mm. So we know that Mark won't be able to join because he has this bachelor party, right, for his cousin.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah. So he's not able to come today. And I think Tommaso is in the middle of something. He's in New York probably.
Gotcha.
So I'm not expecting him to come on. I sent a reminder to Dan, as I always do. I sent him a private message with the link too. He's usually at work at this time, so he might be in a meeting or something.
Gotcha.
And Nancy said she has some difficulties with connection at work, so she might be joining us from her phone.
Gotcha.
And so what I need to do is I'm going to share with you, Chris, something about, so I've been working with Shantanu Kumar, who is, he's been quite active. Oh, Daniel, hi.
Hi, sorry I'm late. I had I didn't get the memo.
Oh, good to see you.
Had the wrong login.
Oh, right. I'm sharing in chat a document. So we've been working to get this publication together for just like, I think I spoke about it earlier, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but we basically the idea was in the beginning to just pull all of the alumni content into one space, and then we thought, why don't we make it become just a boot camp focused space, so that we could actually maybe find a way to harness the energy also with the bootcamp team, because our plan is to reach out to them and ask them whether they'd like to have articles in there too, because then it would be a one-stop place. We thought instead of being just everything by boot campers, it could be the one-stop place for all bootcamp related content. And meantime, we also got Bill's okay to go ahead. So we've created, if you there's a section on the right, it's called Bill's blog. So we are actually also republishing snippets of his blog into this space. That way, alumni will be encouraged to go over and read his blog, because we don't have the whole article published there. It's just like keep reading, and then you're scooted over to his blog, so he gets more traffic. And boot campers know where to go to just look for any content that's interesting for them, because either because it was written by them or it's about them, because we'll be expanding the alumni profile section. And if the bootcamp team thinks it could be interesting for them, we would be able to publish also their content there under the heading of bootcamp updates or bootcamp news. And I think that could serve a good purpose, because it could be interesting for both the alumni community and also prospective future bootcampers. So let's see whether this is going to work. And I just wanted to submit this to you because I thought it might be more powerful to actually sign it all together. So the people who have been
I think it's brilliant. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of this because it's got that, whereas the current community we've got is closed just to alumni. This is more of a public facing one as well. I see it as yeah, but like also a more curated version as well, a slicker version. I think it's pretty cool.
Good. So I'm glad you think that. And Daniel, I don't know whether you're able to look at it now, but when you have time, I will write a recap, because I'll make sure that everyone who has their name on the communication to bootcamp team is agreeable to appearing there. So what I've done now is just put the editing team and the governance board. So I thought it'd be nice to have a few names there. But
Yep,
okay.
I'm supportive. I don't need to read it. I can.
Okay.
I trust you.
Super. Okay, that's great. And wait, I'm just going to also share the link to the meeting minutes. Mark started this, which I thought was great. Just have like an outline of what we're going to talk about, and of course, if there's anything else that you want to be looking at. So the survey, a pity that Mark's not here today, but what we've been doing is, so we've tried to share the survey out through our capillary system of just having the reps to hustle their cohorts. So it's a mix of, it's partly through WhatsApp groups, partly through Facebook groups. We did make an attempt to try and create like an alumni email database, but that wasn't very successful, especially because the latest cohorts actually don't even use email. They're all connecting over WhatsApp. So that's most of the reps have been responsive, some haven't. So I'm not sure we've reached everyone. Mark was hoping to get to 250 answers, which I think is very optimistic. I'm not sure that is going to happen unless, and I don't really feel like this is something we could ask the bootcamp team to actually broadcast for us, because they need proof of concept before they're going to help us with the association. And I think it's a little bit tricky, so that's not something. Let's save that part for the reunion. Yeah, the reunion messages. Oh, Nancy, hi. Can you hear us? I can see your name, but maybe you're not yet acoustically connected. Oops, I'm hearing like underwater sounds. Maybe you're trying to speak. We can only see your name, Nancy, for the time being.
Can you hear me?
Oh, now we can, yes. I can hear you.
Yep, can definitely hear you, Nancy.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Well, thank you. Glad you could make it.
Sorry about that.
No worries. So you're dialing in from work, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have two people absent, or is it three? No, two. So Mark couldn't come because he's at a bachelor's party. Is that what it's called?
Okay.
A bachelor's party? His cousin.
Ha ha ha.
And Tommaso is in New York, I think, right now.
Yeah. Boston.
Or Boston? Because
Yeah, he's at the boot camp.
he was going, to boot camp, and when that's over, I think he's going to New York for a few days and doing stuff there. So.
Oh, okay.
So it's the four of us. So there's Dan, Chris, and myself, and you. Can you see us, or are you just on?
Yes. Yeah, I can. I didn't put my video on because I'm just doing it from my phone.
Okay.
Just trying not to use the battery, but I can.
Do whatever works for you, don't worry. Oh, and by the way, just so you know, I'm recording the call for just you know,
Sure.
so it's useful. We can go back and revisit it. But if you have anything that you don't want to be recorded, that's fine too.
This is for the impeachment proceedings.
Ha 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 ha.
We
I'm gonna call.
share it with each
Sorry,
other
Steve.
internally, just, you know, because it's useful to sometimes revisit what was said. I think in the end we never really watch our videos anyway, but it's good to have them for the record in case we want to do it. But if there's anything you say that you want deleted out, just let me know.
I'm not too worried.
Okay. It's also so that the others who are here today, they can actually view it if they want to catch up.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, Nancy, do you want to, how much time do you have, and do you want to?
I have until 3, so I guess I thought, you know, this is sort of like your normal meeting time. I was sort of, you know, I appreciate the invite. I was just sort of curious as to where you are at in the process of becoming an association. So I pretty much figured I would eavesdrop.
Mm. Yeah, so I can give you a quick update on that. So we are still trying to get as many answers as possible to the survey that we've shared into the Facebook group, into Mighty Networks, just to kind of get a feel. So there seems to be a good response in the sense that those who have responded, who are, I think, currently 36 people, all seem to be in favor of there being an association formed. But there seems to be a lot of uncertainty as to which type, because most people, I think, haven't really taken the time to look at what the open collective entails. They're not really sure. So we have like about half of the people saying, yes, let's use the open collective, and half are saying, I'm not sure because I don't really understand the differences. So,
Sure.
Yeah, so we at some point might just need to make a decision. We were also speaking earlier with Chris about the fact that sometimes when you try to involve too many people in a decision, then initiatives get stuck, because if everyone gives their 2 cents, and you can't really move forward. So it's a question of kind of feeling into what wants to happen, but also at some point just saying, okay, I'll take responsibility and let's try and do this. And then as long as it's not irreversible, I think we could also try and aim to put up something quickly and just give ourselves, 12 months or something, and say if that doesn't work, then we just, we can drop it. But I think that if that would be helpful for moving forward the reunion planning, then that would be a good reason to just speed things up, in my opinion.
Well, so I guess apart from, the reunion in March, I obviously fully support any effort to, get that alumni more connected. But, maybe this is a better question for the guys, because I get to talk to you more regularly. But what do you see as like the advantages of forming the association? And maybe that's, a point where the alumni aren't quite grasping. I'm not sure.
I think it's just a way to make it official, right? So we've been doing this unofficially. We don't have support really from MIT or anyone in any official capacity, and there's no reason why someone else couldn't start a similar program, right? So it's kind of just drawing a line in the sand and say, okay, here's the largest group of alumni. We want to get this together. We want to make this official. And then there's also just the kind of legal consequences of it. How do we collect money? How do we get insurance to do these things? We need to have some kind of an organizational structure in order to kind of just manage kind of the, administrative areas. So that's what I see as the two advantages, I guess.
No, I'd agree with Daniel. Like we need to have some form of legitimacy if we want to move forward, you know, and whoever is going to lead us moving forward. And like the problem I see is it's sort of like a behavioral economics thing, is that people will go somewhere because there's a whole lot of selection. You know, say the cereal aisle in a supermarket, there's 100 things to choose from, but once you're staring at them all, it starts becoming very difficult. You start getting confused easily. So I think there are a lot of options of organizational structures for us to choose. And I don't think it would be wrong of us to, having done some due diligence, to narrow down those options. And we just happen to think at this stage, Open Collective is the best one. But maybe that meeting next week is for everybody that attends. We articulate the advantages, disadvantages of the narrowed down options and the reason why we've been looking at the Open Collective. I just have a bit of a discussion around it. So we get rid of that 100 options and we bring it down to maybe 2 or 3. Any thoughts on that?
Oh, that's
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, because of that, I'm thinking maybe, because we still have a week before that happens, I'm thinking maybe to those who are responding that they want to take part in the conversation, in order to make it really productive, maybe we should ask them to prep a little bit. Like if they think it should be something else, just to come with some bullet points and say, you know, why this or why that, so that we actually we can actually do some mapping out of what would be the advantages, because otherwise it's just like empty talk, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So who did the survey actually go out to?
we tried to reach everyone, so we posted it in the Facebook group, and then we asked each cohort rep to find ways to share it with their cohort. So Nancy, for class 4, I posted it into the actual class 4 Facebook group, which I have access to. I also posted it into the class 3 Facebook group, and some classes have email lists, but we haven't been using those because we were hoping to create like a fuller database of people. And I suddenly realized the other day that through Mighty Networks, I actually have access to quite a number of emails. It's just that I need to hand copy them because we don't have the actual plan that allows me to just download the whole Excel sheet with all the people who are signed in. But we potentially have quite a number of, actually we do have a number of emails. And I'll just show you, I'll go into screenshot quickly and show you what we have so far by way. So we do have 39 responses and quite a good representation of the various classes. Of course, the more recent ones seem to be more responsive because I think they're checking the Facebook group much more. So a good number of alumni have been reached, but maybe not everyone is expressing their interest at this point. And then here, would you be in favor and supportive of legalization? Is an overwhelming yes, I'd say, because most people are saying yes to that. It's almost 90%. And here is like 41% say yes, let's go with the Open Collective, and then 43.6 I'm not sure, they don't understand the implications. And then there are a variety of other answers. And then here people are listing their reasons, but some of them are valid reasons and some are very superficial. So some people are saying like, oh, why aren't we doing this with the boot camp team? And it's like, oh, I can't explain this to you right now.
Yeah.
You know the story. Like, oh, why can't we have Odin head there? So it's like, well, yeah, I'll tell you someday.
Well, I guess the things I see out of it is that our sample size is still on the small side. I would agree that Mark's hope of getting 250 would be over optimistic, but I mean, hey, it's always good to be optimistic. I wish we had 250 as well. I just don't see it happening. But the good news is we got almost exactly 90% of people think it would be a good idea to have some form of organization. And it looks like 43% think, yep, or I'm sorry, 41% think it would be good. There's 43%, they're not sure. So maybe what we've got to do next week is sort of articulate the benefits, the upside downside for Open Collective, as well as sharing some of the other ones that we've considered as well, so that we don't just focus on Open Collective. I think it would be it would be appropriate for us to talk about. Was it 501(c)(3)? Yeah, and those other options that we looked at.
Right. Yeah. So will you both, Chris and Dan, will you both be on the call next week, do you think?
Yes, I will be on the call. And that's at, I think we're an hour later next week than we are right now.
You have the time
I believe so. Oh, yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, because I've got daylight savings this weekend. Yep, no, that makes sense.
Okay.
So I'm good for that.
Yeah, I'm clear on that at that time.
Okay, great. So Dan, would you be able to just during the call, like do a quick summary of what that other format of association would entail?
Yeah, and I think in any case, we're going to need some form of legal entity, whether it's a 503(c) or an LLC or whatever, and that kind of sits on top of or beside the open collective. But I can explain it pretty well.
Okay, super. And I'll ask people who plan to join to just make sure they have some kind, at least have a look at what the open collective is, and maybe I'll try and, from my point of view, summarize what I see in that, and maybe Chris, you also have a clear idea about that. And
Absolutely.
you think we should prepare anything else as an additional option? Because I'm really, this is really not my area of expertise.
We have down in New Zealand and Australia, we've got charitable trusts. We've got a couple of other options that we've got across the Commonwealth. And they would be the very similar analog equivalent of the 501(c)(3)s and that whole batch of options. Probably the biggest downside I see to them is that wherever this is set up, it's going to require that small cohort of folks probably domiciled there to be able to manage things like a local bank account, because it's very difficult to set up a bank account with folks who are not in that country. Like I'd almost strongly discourage even attempting it, because it raises all kinds of questions. So yeah, I think it sort of limits. We could have a great option down here in New Zealand, but if we've only got 3 people from New Zealand, it's just simply not an option, because it would mean those people would have to be part of the governance team, like in perpetuity. And I think that's probably the biggest downside to the 501(c)(3) type thing, is that if we've got, say, half of our alumni in the US, and if there's a requirement to have those governance members domiciled there, it would exclude, and I think it comes down to that exclusion issue, is does it wind up excluding too many people?
Yeah, I think that's mainly a banking issue. So I mean, the treasurer obviously would have to have access. So
Yeah.
we could we could really go crypto and do everything in Bitcoin. That would be fun.
That would be cool.
No, I think we can work that out, and I think that's actually kind of more of an executive kind of decision. I don't think that needs to be discussed about around among the whole group. But I think we just need to get permission to move forward in some capacity, and then we'll just fail our way forward and figure it out.
Nancy, does that kind of answer your query?
Yeah, kind of. I'm actually, I hadn't taken the survey, shamefully, but I am. And I was also realizing that, when you talk about the open collective on there, and I opened the link because I wasn't sure I was really clear on the definition. I think it's easy for people to click not sure, I don't understand the implications, rather than click on other and explain their answer. So I wonder if that's why you got that a lot.
Maybe, yes.
Because otherwise it's a yes or a no vote.
Yeah.
And for people that don't feel comfortable answering yes or no, that might have been easier.
That's a big point. Yeah. So maybe part of next week's meeting would be just to kind of look at it together, so that people know more clearly what it's about.
Well, and maybe like the direct application of that to our group. you know,
Oh,
because I mean, that website's fine, but it's pretty ambiguous because they're trying to be a, you know, one size fits all to whoever's coming to their site.
so kind of
Because I like all the ideas on here, but that's probably how people felt about our reunion survey. Like, what, you know, what actually is gonna be accomplished with the money that people put forth, you know.
so how can we be as a governance team, Nancy? How do you think we could be supportive? Like, how can we help support the planning initiative? Because I also remember there was something about the pitch deck. Did you have questions about that you wanted to put to the team? This first deck, I remember you wrote, like last week, there's something about getting stuck trying to come up with an enticing way to present options to potential sponsors. Is that something you wanted to open up to a larger group to look at, or because there's always this, you know, this final?
Oh, you mean just clarifying our value proposition and why it's unique as opposed to all of the other groups in Boston that are asking sponsors for money?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, but I think I've also run into the scenario of the too many cooks in the kitchen type thing too. So
Yeah.
I mean, we'll definitely be reaching out again, but I also feel like we need to give people something solid at the same time. So I mean, that's definitely a question I could post. But yeah, no, I wasn't really like that was the game plan.
And there was this,
I mean, we're weighing our possibilities for how we're going to handle deposits and handle money, but like, you know, I think it's great that you guys are figuring out formation, but I don't think it would be appropriate to hand that over like at this point. But if that changes between now and March, then maybe that could work, you know. I was CC'd on an email that Mark had sent to Vimla about liability insurance, and we did find a third party that we can use for liability insurance. So I don't know Mark at all, but I could send you what we were planning to use if you want to look into it, because that was a huge barrier for us. And it's like a per instance insurance. So if you're looking to facilitate some sort of meeting somewhere, then you probably could use it. Well, within the States, I guess. I don't know how that would work internationally.
okay.
Miguel tells me in Europe you don't need these things. I'm not sure he's right about that.
The Latin way, probably. But I think
I don't know. He might have just gotten lucky.
No, but it's much tighter in the States, I think, in terms of liability and insurance. People are just much more cautious.
Right, and the boot camp team was pretty blunt with me that they have needed it. There have been instances, there have been legal issues, so
Yeah.
it's not an option to need it.
So
sign as an individual.
So you're saying that the handling of sponsorship money and all of that, you think will require the like you won't need to lean on the association for that? Is that because I just need to know like how much steam we need to put into this engine to try and push it forward quickly, or do we have lots of time? Depends on.
I feel like we need to be getting deposits from people probably in the next month. But I was thinking, even if I find a solution temporarily for that, you know, there is a possibility of taking the rest of the money in another. So,
Okay.
but I don't have a definite answer on that, but because we haven't 100% locked down what amount we're going to take as a deposit. And initially, we're gonna try to get people to commit, but also keep it refundable.
Okay, so in terms of updates to the community regarding planning, like, is there anything that needs to be said to the community now, even though we don't have like a full email list, but what needs to be, do we need to be telling the community anything? Because do you remember during our many reunions, we realized that some people didn't even know there's this initiative in the works. We haven't reached everybody. That's the thing.
Right. I think that's like been the biggest barrier. So Vimla has said that she'll send out an email for us to the entire alumni base, and I'm hoping to have kind of an opt-in option from that to communicate about reunions. But I was planning to make that pretty specific and not make people feel like they were going to be spammed with anything else. But I feel like that's the thing that's missing right now that I really would like to get from the boot camp team. There's just not a good way for us all to connect.
Yeah, so when
we had, yeah, go ahead.
That does go out from Vimala, would it at that point also have the call to action?
Can you say that again?
So when Vimala will actually send out this communication to the whole community, will it also include like the button, the instructions as to how to book your place and make the so that like a tangible idea of who's going to come?
I apologize, I'm not catching all of what you're saying. There's a little bit of interference. So when Vimla sends out the email, will it include
the call to action to book a seat and to pay the deposit?
Initially, it may not. It kind of depends on how quickly we can get her to do it. It's going to be more like a save the date email.
Okay.
But I really, yeah, I'm sort of desperate to communicate with the alumni that aren't on social media, which is a lot of them. And I guess that's really what came to my attention. And I don't blame them. I'm extremely inconsistent about it. It's not what everyone needs. I feel like actually some businesses are like they still have a presence there, but that's not necessarily always their driving force. So I totally get why some people aren't on it, but it does make communication easier in some ways. But also I almost feel like we're at oversaturation, because I did see the email that you sent me, but I didn't see it in my Facebook feed because I just have too many things turned on, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, there's no ideal way. And sometimes the emails don't reach people either because it depends on how much traffic people get in their inbox.
True. Yeah. But I think, for those that are already interested in emails from the boot camp team, and honestly, there's so many of them. So maybe we're at oversaturation with that too. But for people that, are already interested in what's going on there, I guess it's giving us a lead into those individuals. So honestly, it hadn't occurred to me that I do get a lot of emails from them, and I don't open all of them at this point because there's a lot. So yeah, there's no ideal way, but that's what's driving me crazy. Is like there's just not a great way to reach out to all these individuals. What does work is if you make friends with someone and then you tell your friend, because that happened at the mini reunions a lot, people that had made real connections, which also reiterates to me that we do need a means of facilitating in-person meetups, So, I mean, if this collaborative, if that's one of your objectives, then I definitely fully support that.
Right. So I'm thinking like what can we take away from this call as next action points, apart from the fact, so we're having this next week, exactly in a week at the same time. We'll have this open, it's going to be an open Zoom call for all people who want to join to discuss the association initiative. And I'm going to try and make a list of those who have actually answered that they're coming, and get them to prep a little bit so that hopefully by the end of that meeting we know where to go with this idea. So that's one of the next steps. What else? So it's just trying to build momentum to the side. So with this the publication that I was illustrating earlier on to Dan and Chris, I don't know how aware you are of it, but we created a Medium. We've created a publication on Medium where we're trying to put in all the bootcamp related content, and we've got Bill on board that, and we're going to try and also involve the bootcamp team and present it to them as an opportunity to actually showcase whatever they to either alumni or prospective boot campers. So that's another thing.
I do have a question for you, and like for all of you, do you view the bootcamp team like right now as an ally or as a barrier?
Both.
Okay.
I think it's the nature of the beast. I think we have a lack of aligned interests. I think their interest is in generating revenue to keep the program going. That's what schools tend to work on, unfortunately. And I respect that and I understand that. So I think they see us more as a future revenue source or a possible impediment to that future revenue source. And I think if we can show them that we can support them at least passively, if not actively, in growing their sources of revenue, I think they'll probably come on board to a greater or lesser degree in the future. But I think the way we look at it is we all want to learn and grow from each other. I think MIT wants to create more boot camps, which will provide us there's mutual benefit there, but I just don't think our interests are totally aligned yet. I think they can be more aligned. I just don't think we're there yet. That's my personal feeling. I'm a little bit dark on it.
Yeah, and I just have one thing to add. I had to step off for a second, so I may be out of context, but I think that we shouldn't be trying to be perfect, right? We don't need to get 100% or 90% or even 80% of the people. If we have 40% and that's enough to start, I say we just start, right? There's gonna keep people are going to trickle in over time. People are going to leave over time. I just think we need to take what we have and assume this is our beachhead market, and let's just move forward. And as it gets to be more successful, more people will want to join. And yeah, I think, we're all kind of, we're all numbers people, right? So we all want to be perfect and not leave anybody out.
Yeah.
I just say we just have to just move forward with what we have.
Thanks, Daniel. That's really helpful. And to that point, actually, it was quite interesting to observe that this time from the Sports Entrepreneurship Bootcamp, apart from just saying welcome to them in the Facebook group, I think I even did that afterwards, but people just started coming into the Mighty Networks by word of mouth, and I didn't actually even hustle this time. It was really interesting because I used to have
And that's the best.
Yeah. So it means that, something's happening that's going beyond just the literal single pushes that we do. I used to have to really work at it, and now people are asking to become reps, so it's getting easier. It's like the ball started to roll, and I would never have thought that we'd even reach this number. So we're currently 650 or something, which
Yeah, I mean, I think that's more than enough.
Awesome.
Yeah. And for the laggards, once we want them in, all we have to do is make it exclusive, right? They're not allowed in, and
Yeah.
they have to do something, and you will send them an MIT patch or something, and then they'll want to be in. You get a wall certificate. We'll let them print out a paper wall certificate.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, is there anything else that needs to be said today, or are we done?
Yeah, I would just put out, one thing that I am reaching out to alumni about in regards to the reunion is if you have specific connections that you think we should pursue in the ways of sponsorships, then I mean we're very open to every avenue.
Okay.
So we've got lots of ideas that we're pursuing, but I'm very open to more. So I mean I've definitely had people just sort of give me their dreamscape, and that's fine. But if there's yeah, again, just with that personal referral, that's always more powerful. So and maybe that is an ask that I should put out to the Mighty Network now that we're 600 strong.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe even some of the alumni might be potential sponsors, because in my class 3 we had someone who was already a fully fledged entrepreneur with a business, and he was coming to boot camp just to gain insights. So actually, yeah, I might try and reach out to him and see what he thinks.
That's a really interesting thought. Okay.
So I'm making a note to myself. Thank you for pointing that out, Nancy, because sometimes we tend to forget the obvious, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like sometimes I'm juggling too many things and I'm always forgetting the obvious. So
yeah, and then you get the curse of knowledge because you're in it so much and you're not looking at all the possibilities. So it's good to open up the field a little bit.
Yeah, asking questions is always a good thing.
Yes. And asking bravely, things that you think, oh, nobody's going to say yes to that, but you never know. Right? Okay. So I think we can maybe wrap it up, right?
Yeah, it's a good
Sounds
meeting.
like a plan.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much for attending, and look forward to seeing you soon, one way or another, probably Wednesday, and then Nancy will connect probably on Monday about the reunion and over email.
All right, sounds great. Thank you.
Cheers, team.
Yep. Good to see y'all.
Have a good day.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.